Hey guys, Lionard here. Just wanted to talk about the developer update that just dropped today. I thought it was very interesting and so interesting, in fact, that I decided to make a video about it. The first thing, and probably the most important thing that caught my eye, was the blood web cost. So they just overhauled the progression system. They made it so that the perks are spread out differently when you buy them and how you acquire them across everyone on Killer's and Survivor side. They mention some of what has changed with the blood points, point modifier perks being reworked, or if not just completely removed, like barbecue and chili, and we're gonna live forever. To remedy this, which is very interesting, they want to make every single type of node on the blood web cheaper. I think this is a great idea. This is going to be live with the next chapter, and right here we can see the chart. So all the prices, very easy to read. You can read them yourselves. Overall, it's a 33% decrease of every single node, of every single thing you can buy in the blood web on both the survivor and the killer side. The second big thing they go into is they directly talk about and address camping and tunneling, which is very interesting to me. Because apparently, and I haven't really noticed it until going back and looking through the VODs and our streams, but camping and tunneling has increased, apparently, has just shot through the roof in how popular and effective it is with the current meta right now. With that being said, the way that they're trying to address it, because they don't really know where it's going or how to solve it completely, they're going to increase the endurance status effect from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. In base kit, we are almost getting a 1.0 version of borrowed time in base kit for survivors. I think that's pretty insane. At the same time, it's definitely going to make it really hard for you to be camped or tunneled and especially the tunneling part. You're going to be able to get just about anywhere safely in about 10 seconds. Adding on top of that the hate status effect that gives you 7% increased movement speed, bringing you very close to the killer's movement speed. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if this is the answer, but it's certainly going to help more against the anti-camping and anti-tunneling that is very popular right now, and we've seen a lot in our own games, and I've seen a lot in other people's games. With all the camping in other people's games, it's interesting to see that they're also going to choose the revert Medal of Man. The way they're reverting this right here, to sum it up, is that they're removing the way that it acts as an endurance status effect right now. It is going to be its own extra hit by itself. It's just going to be a Medal of Man extra hit. It's not going to make you bleed out. It's not going to put you in a endurance state where you can't you can't use certain actions. You won't be able to break it. You'll just be able to get the charge like you used to and build up Medal of Man. I like this change right here. Medal of Man used to be one of my favorite perks. When they changed it so severely and in a very strange way with the last patch, I did not like it. Seeing this, I'm very happy. Very, very happy. Alright, now some really important stuff about this developer update. We have some incredible news about the mastermind himself, Albert Wesker. He is getting buffed, incredibly buffed from the PTB. They've recognized a lot of the things that people were saying from the public test beta about him not being able to hurt people while they're vaulting. He can now do that. If people are vaulting and he's charging with his virulent bond, he's going to do damage to you. It's going to be very, very nice to see that. Secondly, when he vaults over things, where there was a window where you couldn't really dash again, and you couldn't really stop your virulent bond and go into an auto attack before a survivor could take a fast vault action either over the pallet or over a window. This has been changed so that when you vault over something, there's also now a damage window when you bound, injuring the survivor. Again, these are massive buffs, by the way. Massive buffs for Wesker and how his playstyle is going to be going down. Second, again, just more. We're adding more buffs here. Revisited his power and loops. Read this right here. I need you to pause the video, take your time to read this. They're making him quicker, as if they had one of his add-ons attached to him now in his base kit, so that he's moving quicker while he is charging, using his charge, his virulent bond charge, meaning he can get around corners, he can catch up to you, less corners are safe, lesser your movement is safe, and he can make better dash plays, because as well, on top of that, he also has the collision system a little figured out for him. They polished all the collisions on every map from the way he collides with things with his dash. He can apparently now hit and not collide in ways that are disadvantage for him, which I'm very excited to see how polished any of the surfaces are that we ran into. We saw a lot on the RPD, and since that was the map that was flooded in there, so I'm very excited to see that. The last thing we're going to mention about the mastermind before we get on to the other information is that they were very correct in making it seem, they're very correct in addressing this. When you would throw a survivor into another survivor, you would not so much be told that you were injured. So what is happening, again, this is the fourth buff, 4 buffs now in a row. You are going to be put into a deep wound status effect. So that's very interesting to me. When you bowl survivors into one another, you are going to both injure them and then also cause a deep wound status effect. So you are making them heal longer, you are taking longer for them to heal and showing them that they are injured. So it's a easier visual indicator on top of a massive buff, because any second that you're stopping the survivor from doing any other action that gets them out through the exit gates, it's usually pretty good. Final bit of the developer update that is still fascinating information. All of this developer update is just a huge dump of like very important meta changing things that I think are going to come to 6.2, especially with the WESKER buffs. We have 4 perks that are being updated. Reassurance being the first one here. They are changing this one. If you remember what it did on the PTB, you knew it was ridiculous. People could chain reassurance on people so that they could keep them on the hook indefinitely. If more than one person was running it, if the proper timing and juggling was done, you could keep someone hanging on the hook while you pause their timer indefinitely. You could just keep them paused forever. Now, that can't be abused. It can only be used once per hook state, but now it doesn't have a cooldown. So now you can instantly use it if people have changed the hook state from the last time you used it. If you see one person, they get hooked, you can pause their first hook state. If a separate survivor gets hooked, you can pause their hook state immediately without having to wait for the 40-second cooldown. But also, you can't use it on that same person over and over if other people have been chaining it together. I think this makes sense. This is, I believe, how it should have came out in the first place. I still think it's going to be a very strong perk. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be more powerful with Swifts than it's going to be with just your normal solo teams, but we'll see when it hits live proper. I'm still very excited for it. I think it's a good perk. For the second one, when I read through this the first time, I laughed because of the fact that it was changed. Everything in this description, I will read it for you right now. Everything changed because of one killer in the game. Just one killer. This perk grants the killer aura reading effect while they are carrying a survivor. On the PTB, this effect also lingered for 2 seconds after the carried survivor is dropped, hooked, or wiggled free. This effect could be a little oppressive on certain killers. Nurse. Especially when paired with Lethal Pursuer to extend the aura reading effects and Starstruck to make survivors exposed. Nurse. For the release, we've removed the lingering aura reading from the Awakened Awareness. As a result, Lethal Pursuer will no longer extend the duration of Awakened Awareness aura reading. Because of the Nurse, this perk was completely changed in how it works because the Nurse could abuse it. One killer changed this perk. The next one is not so dramatic. We have Low Profile. They changed this to a way that I think it can actually be usable. I don't think it's going to be a meta changing perk. I don't think it's even an A+ or an A or B perk. I still think it's probably down in C tier, to be honest. But now they've changed it so that there's a second way it can activate. We have changed to include at any time you are the only survivor who is not dying, hooked, or dead. So if you got people on the floor and people hooked on and you're the only one left, you will also activate low profile. And I think that's a good change to it, because being the last one alive is normally not something you run into all the time. It can be if you run a certain play style, if you play very, like, you try to hide and not engage in chase, but this makes it so that this can really help if a game has gone to crap. This can really help get the that last person like to the hooks. It can help them save people on the ground. It can really help in that end game chase if you're the last person who isn't slugged. And you can have some anti-slugging capability. So it's not completely useless where it was before. Now it is somewhat useful in certain situations. Alright, now we're on to the last survivor perk, which I think has been elevated to a new tier. This is because two things have changed. The base has not. It applied when you would heal someone and give them generator progression bonus speed. Now, what is going to happen, instead of that being lost after a certain amount of time, 25, 30, 35 seconds, you're going to apply a stronger generator repair speed buff to that survivor after you heal them. That is the same. You will apply that buff. It will both be stronger, and it will now work very similar as Overzealous does. Overzealous stays, your buff for doing the generator quicker stays until you are hit. Better Than New no longer has a duration. Survivors instead keep this bonus until the next time they are damaged. So after you heal someone, you are now giving them a generator repair speed bonus that will last until they are hit. So that heal will have so much more value. There's no time limit on it. They can stack it with other speed buffs. I think this is going to be a big generator repair speed build. I think people are going to start intentionally taking damage so that they can get healed by the person who's holding this and just sit on a generator that much quicker. I think this can be ran by one person in a Swift, and I think this is going to get generators done real quick. And right here, to wrap it up at the end, we have them recognizing that the Raccoon City Police Department, that was split into two separate variations now, had way too many pallets on the map overall. So they are reducing the number of pallets on the newly renovated maps from the chapter release. Now again, we think, and from the leaks we are told, August 30th is going to be the chapter release. That is a week from now. It lines up. It makes sense. I believe next Tuesday we're going to be seeing this new map set release, new killer, new survivors, new Resident Evil Ultimate. So we're going to be seeing it all, people. So I'm going to tell you, I'm really excited for next week to come. I wanted to get this video out today, so I appreciate if you stop by. These changes, every single one of them, is very interesting to me. Seeing even more help for the grind to go down, I'm happy for. Seeing camping and tunneling being addressed finally, and how prevalent it's been, I'm all about it. Let's figure out some answers. Metal and Man getting fixed, being reverted, awesome with me. Albert Wesker getting some loving, I'm fine with it. I love the man. Seeing these perks rebalance, change around, that's why you have a public test build. That's why you figure these things out. So we're happy here. And again, thank you. I hope we all have a good rest of the day. See you in the next video.